Good day, sports fans. Welcome back to my channel. I am Big D 11B, and I record myself doing stuff. For today's project, we are going to do another toy repair. But before we get into that, I'd like to invite you to please subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell. And then it's October. It's getting really close to Halloween, so go ahead and take the like button to the grocery store and buy the biggest bag of candy corns you can find. Okay, so let's get into it then. Today I'm going to be repairing another one of my son's toys that's broken. This is the second repair. The first repair was just simply gluing it back together, and with some rough play, the heads come off again. So we're going to try to do a more a permanent, more stronger repair. So, who is our lucky guest for today? Yeah, it's Star-Lord's stepdad, Yondu. Apparently he's lost his head. Again, he looks like he's looking at the camera, but he's really not because, well, his head's missing. This is, like I say, this is the second time I've repaired this, but this time it's going to require something a little bit stronger this time. So if you watched my last video, you'll notice that I used I repaired Woody, who broke like seriously 2 days later in a different spot, so I'd repair him again. But I repaired Woody's hand by placing a pin or a screw into his arm so that when I glued his hand back on there, it would be glued on, but it also, couldn't just snap off. Because as you know, if you ever use glue, it doesn't matter how strong the glue is and how good the bond is, a small plastic toy can be broken again and again easily. Gluing something back together isn't always the most successful way to fix things. But anyways, we try anyway, especially to make our kids happy. And that's one of the reasons why I do this, because we don't have a lot of money to just buy toys and replace toys, and it wouldn't matter anyway, because my son, was really attached to his Woody doll, and when he lost it earlier this year for about a month, he was really, really upset, and so we ended up buying him a new one, and now he plays with both of them. But the new one, when he opened it, he was excited, but it wasn't the same, and he was upset again because he wanted his original Woody doll. So for whatever reason, sometimes these toys get important to the kids, and I like to do what I can to fix them. So today, repairing Yondu's head, I'm going to use a similar method, only this time, rather than a screw, I am going to use a textured nail. I'm going to cut it down to size and see if I can use that as a pin to keep his head in place, so that the next time somebody grabs it and tries to crank it sideways and snap it off, it won't come off. And I will also use some glue. That nail's got a lot of ridges on it, and that's why I chose this, because once it goes in, it's likely to stick in there and stay. So let's do that. Let's give that a shot and see how it works. And because it's not a screw, it's a nail, but it does have ridges, I'm going to add glue, and hopefully it'll stay in there without just sliding right out. There's Yami's head. And when you do this, the idea is to make it look as good as you can, because children really aren't going to be super picky about the aesthetics. They just want their toy whole again so they can keep playing with it. So that's kind of the idea. And filming YouTube videos, you may or may not know, is not always easy. You always end up with some background noise. Like, maybe your wife is doing dishes with the headphones on and singing really loud. Nice and easy. Now this drill bit, I chose this bit. I don't even know what size it is. I didn't look. It's really tiny and I don't have a magnifying glass to read it. But I chose this bit because it was, I tested it, it's the right size for this nail, where that nail will go in snug not too tight, but also not too loose. And it's one of those things where if you're doing this type of repair, you'll have to experiment. Kind of get your parts lined out and drill a few holes in some wood and see how things work out, and then you'll know which size you want to use and kind of go from there. Also, it's a good idea to mark your drill bit so that you don't drill too far. Whatever your project is, if you're using a drill and you only want to go a certain depth, it's a good idea to mark your bit. With a Sharpie, a larger bit, that'll show up a little bit better. But the best method I've found for marking your drill bit, and I'm sure a lot of woodworkers would agree with me, is to just simply get a piece of tape, mark your depth, and of course, like everything else, you want to test it on a piece of scrap material to make sure that it's the right depth. But you just get yourself a little piece of tape and say, okay, there's my 1/4 inch-ish that I'm looking for, and now you've got a nice little marker so you know not to go too far. I think that's too far for this, but I think it'll be fine. You drill right into the cerebral cortex, or is this the medulla oblongata? Seriously, I don't know. Comment down below if you know if this is the medulla oblongata. I was going to call the water boy and ask him, but he won't return my calls. Okay, so now we've got this hole in there, and a matching hole, and I don't know exactly if they're going to line up perfectly. Hopefully he won't be looking up at the stars or something silly like that, but it doesn't need to be perfect. His chin will kind of block some of it. Besides, this is just a kid's toy that we're fixing so they can keep playing with it. It doesn't have to be perfect. This isn't going to be show quality for eBay or something silly like that. Hey, I know. Let's do a little story time. So, back in the early 90s, it must have been around 92 or 93, my grandfather was putting some paneling up in his kitchen, and he liked to use paneling. It was relatively quick and easy and not as messy as paint, and you don't have to do all the drywall and texture and all that fun stuff. But he liked paneling. So he asked me to take him to Builder Square. For those of you who don't know, that is a store that got replaced by the big blue and the big orange box stores. But it was a local store where you would go get your lumber, building materials, and so on. So we went and picked up some paneling for the kitchen, and we picked up a box of matching brown nails. Basically a finished paneling nail, and they are textured so that when you nail up the paneling, it doesn't work its way out, because nails are normally round and smooth. And that, folks, is what I'm using today. I still have some of my grandfather's paneling nails. They're painted brown. You can't tell on the camera, it probably looks black, but they're painted brown, and they've got these little ridges on them that that way they don't back out. Let's take one of these ancient nails, see if I can get it to go in there with some glue. I already opened this, squeeze the metal tube so it's just squeezing out. Got some super strong glue there. 8 nail. Oh, that just slid right in there. Nice cut glue, bottomed out. So now, I need to cut that off. I gotta work quickly now because I'm afraid that glue's gonna dry up and leave a little bit of a hump there where the big glue was. So I'm gonna try cutting this long enough at an angle. It's got a sharp point. Fingers. There we go. I'm gonna cut a little more off. That looks kind of long. I'm wearing glasses, by the way, safety glasses. And so when you're cutting things, especially small bits and metal things, you always want to use the correct PPE, personal protective equipment, and so safety glasses is very important. Sometimes people make jokes and don't want to comply with safety rules and things like that, but it's really in your best interest. And if you don't believe me, go watch some shooting YouTube videos. There are people out there that have ricochets and bullets fly back, and and even had firearms suddenly come apart in their face. And had they not been wearing safety glasses, they would have lost their eyesight. And fortunately, they didn't lose their lives. You don't know who I'm talking about. My dude, Kentucky Ballistics. He had some old ammunition that went bad, blew up in the chamber of the rifle, and almost killed him. But the safety glasses not only did the circumstances surrounding that event culminate in him surviving, but his safety glasses that he was wearing, it also saved his eyesight as well. So out of all the good things that could have gone right in a bad situation, he was able to save his eyesight. Oh, crap, this is not working. I don't know if that was the right thing to do to pull it back off, but it was still too long. Case in point, that little piece of metal just went bouncing around the garage. So, alright, let's try this again. Got glue on it already. There it goes. Perfect. Alright, so now that I've got it on there, I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of glue on the back side to hopefully go down into that little crack in the back of the neck. And see if I can kind of move some of this glue in there. This glue is good, but it doesn't dry super fast. And it is kind of a gel type of glue. It's not like super liquidy, which is kind of nice because it gives you a little bit of leeway, some time to work with it. If you use really liquidy super glue, really thin stuff, you end up gluing your fingers together and you run out of time. And it doesn't really work great for the plastic like this, but all right, there he is. Yondu's got his head back. A nice little pin in there. I'm not going to move it around too much because I want that glue to set, but it looks pretty good. Now, the way this toy was originally designed, his head was on kind of there's a little bit of post, and it was broken off and inside of his skull there, and so the head's supposed to move around and swivel. Well, the kids would always pop the head off and lose it, and then I'd have to find the head, and I got in the habit of just gluing him back on. Instead of making him work properly, I'd rather just glue him on stationary, and that way they can't pull him off and lose him. Okay, there we go. Result. Yondu's got his head back on. Hopefully it won't come back off, and should be ready to rock and roll there. So I guess that's just about it for this video. All right, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.